For me, thank God for Bitcoin is the moral case for Bitcoin. And interesting, sorry, Danny, we were with Jeff Booth the other day and we were talking about money misinformation, how you have Bitcoin, which is money truth, and the rest of the market is money misinformation. It's a completely distorted market. People can't prepare for, their wealth gets destroyed. And that really is, whether we say thank God for Bitcoin or the moral case of Bitcoin, I'm not religious, I think it's the same point, right?
Yeah, I mean, the case for Bitcoin from a moral perspective is that you are not stealing from other people. That's really it. And, you know, we wrote that book to Christians, which we know there's a significant number, to help them understand from a Christian perspective why it's a better money than fiat money and how immoral fiat money is. And to your point, like all these altcoins as well. And that's the case that we're making. And, you know, you talked about with Jeff and many other people, it's that you get all these skews because essentially value is being stolen from all of these other people. And, you know, as we point out in the book, it's not just stolen from, you know, rich fat cats or something like that. It's not like that at all. In fact, it's being stolen from the poorest of the poor in the entire world. If you think about the US dollar, you know, every time they print an additional dollar, it dilutes everybody else that's holding the dollar. Well, if you look at cash, for example, the US dollars, the actual physical bills, 65% of physical US dollar bills are outside the United States. Now, where are they? In all sorts of countries for very good reason. They don't like, a lot of people don't like holding their local currency. So that's their form of savings. When the US dollar is expanding, and in the last 2 years, it went from 15 trillion to 22 trillion. So that's a significant increase, almost 50% increase in the amount of M2 money that exists. That's a significant inflation. Well, who is that hurting? Your PPP loans, your STIMI checks, where's that coming from? It's coming on the backs of all those people that are outside the United States that are getting their dollars diluted. And, you know, I've talked to Yeonmi Park about this. In North Korea, the most desirable...
She's amazing.
Yeah, the most desirable currency in the black markets in North Korea is the US dollar. That's what they save their money in. Who are you hurting? When the dollar expands, it's them. Right? It's the poorest of the poor. It's the most vulnerable people in the most oppressive places, you know, whether it's North Korea or Zimbabwe or Venezuela.
It was when I was in Venezuela, people wanted dollars.
Yeah. And those are the people that are being diluted. And we, my friend Alex Gladstein, he's been on your show too.
Yeah, that's great.
He talks about how, you know, he sent me a thing because he knows I'm interested in North Korea. So report out of North Korea, like from the defectors or people that are still in there, talking about how like prices in North Korea just doubled, right? That's what happens when you expand the dollar. It is highly immoral. These are people that are getting hurt all the time so that we could get our STIMI checks, so that we could have our PPP loans, so that we could have, you know, all these things that Congress spends money on and, you know, feeds rent seekers essentially. Those other people that we don't see, those are the people that are being hurt. And that's the case that we're making in that book.
And it's not that I agree with this, but why does the US government owe a responsibility for people who choose to hold the dollar in another country? Is it because they've created the dollar global standard as a reserve currency? Is that why?
Yeah, and they more or less imposed it on the world as part of Bretton Woods, right? Post-World War II, or like towards the end of it, it was a bunch of bureaucrats from a lot of countries that decided, all right, we need a new monetary world order. Those are the exact words that they used. In a hotel in New Hampshire called Bretton Woods, and they decided this is how it's going to be for the rest of the world. And because the US was the most dominant power with most of the gold, they were able to impose it on the rest of the world. So it is in a very real sense a monetary imperialism that's been cast over the entire world. And that's why, yeah, the US is responsible because they imposed it. And, you know, previous reserve currencies had a similar sort of like dynamic, including your home country, with the
Yep.
British pound before that. So yeah, I would say that the U.S. government is responsible for all of this global trade happening in the U.S. dollar because they more or less imposed it.
So give me the moral case for Bitcoin then.
Well, the moral case for Bitcoin is that you don't have the cesspool of theft, corruption, and cronyism that you do with the U.S. dollar, right? The fiat money is just straight up evil. It is an institution of corruption, of theft, of extracting value from people that could least afford it. And Bitcoin is one that's way fairer, right? And that's the case that we make. And we don't even mention Bitcoin until like the last two chapters. It's, okay, here's all the things that are wrong with fiat money. All of these things are the result of fiat money, including, high time preference behavior, the politicization of absolutely everything. When you have a money printer available, everyone wants access to that money printer. And it is all about, hey, I want, they will fight tooth and nail for that money printer. So everything becomes politicized. All of these societal ills are a result of fiat money. And then we bring in Bitcoin and say, okay, here is why Bitcoin is very different. There is no center. There is no central controller. That means that you have certainty around the amount of Bitcoin that you have. It's not going to get stolen from you. It is unseizable money, and it's undilutable money. And that means that you have actual control of it. And that gives it much better qualities from a moral perspective, because if a money is hard to steal, then that's just better money. Dollar is very easy to steal, not like physically from your pocket or something like that, although there is that too. But from diluting it, you are actually stealing value from people, even if you're not taking the dollars out of their pocket. With Bitcoin, you can't do that. And that makes it a more moral money, or a system that makes it very, very difficult to be immoral in.